My goodness, I did not know I was this late. Anyway, my name is Frances Fox, and I have an interesting background, but I want to remind you that I also have a degree in political science from the University of Miami. Do not get a degree in political science because basically, I guess it's the same as all the science we've been delivered the last 30 or 40 years. No validity to it. Nothing. Interesting. Where do I start? I think I want to start with a little bit of a sad story. Only sad, well, you figure it out. In 1970, and I think it's probably 1970, because it was like the year I got married. I got married in 69. I remember the house I was living in. Somebody asked me if I would do them a favor to set up a group of like four teenage girls that would meet once a week and try to do wholesome stuff. And I looked at the person and I said, well, why would I want? I was at that point, I would have been 21 years old. So I wouldn't have been that much older than these teenage girls. I said, why would I do that? They said, well, we need this. We have to do some studies and we're setting a proposal. And so we have to have some studies and we have to have something to back up the proposal. And the person who asked me, I loved a lot. I really did. And I also trusted this person. So I went ahead and set up the group. Well, the girls, it didn't last long, maybe 4 weeks. Half of the girls would tell their mothers they were coming to the group to my house where we would discuss wholesome things. The word was not wholesome, but it was useful stuff. They were Hispanic girls. And so half of them wouldn't show up. They'd tell their mother they were at my house and they were really with their boyfriend or whatever. So I called it quits and I told the person, that's okay. We already got the $2 million. And I went, you got what? We're talking 1970. And I was poor as church mice. So for me, $2 million was like, would you rob a bank? Mm. He said, yeah, we did the proposal for working with young Hispanic girls and something that's very necessary in this country at this point. Okay. And so we got the money. And the ceremony was coincidentally going to be in Miami. And it was Julie Eisenhower. I think she was Julie. Yeah, Julie Eisenhower, the daughter. And she was the one that was going to give the check for $2 million to the Girl Scouts. So I was working for 4 weeks for the Girl Scouts. So this person said to me, we can't invite you to the ceremony, but you just need to know that it's in such and such, I think it was a school that was near me. And Julie's going to be handing out this check to the Girl Scouts. You know what? Complete bullshit. What I did was bullshit. The whole setup was bullshit. But you know what? When I remembered it last night, I went, oh my God, that's how they did all the USAID stuff. You got an idea, crazy idea, an interesting idea, or an idea that, hey, that would be interesting. And let's get somebody who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, which in that case was me, and let's just prop them up for a week or two. Get somebody who can write good proposals, and let's get. At that point, it was $2 million, 1970. So I think you need to look at Girl Scouts, and I think you absolutely need to look at the Boy Scouts because that proposal was coming from the Girl Scouts. Supposedly, I was doing this for the Girl Scouts, which I did not know when this person asked me to do this. She just asked me to do this as a personal favor. Anyway, that's the way they did things. And I don't even know why I remembered this last night. Interesting. We got a lot going on. We got a lot of stuff falling from the sky, the planes that are spraying us with stuff. But hang on a minute. I don't know how many decades ago, some scientist who won a Nobel Prize for I don't remember what, but he had this crazy idea that we should spray sulfur in the atmosphere to cool it down. And everybody was like, oh, this is completely crazy. sulfur is what's in garlic, which protects from spirits. And there are so many products that are considered miraculous that their core is sulfur. The reason it's miraculous because it protects from spirits. And I read the name of one of the. Remember that in my mind control programming, I've been programmed, and they kept it consistent until now, that I not remember names or faces. So when I say I don't remember the name, I'm not just being frivolous. Okay, if I remembered the name, I would tell you. But when I read one of the names of the products that was in what was getting sprayed over us, it had sulfur in it. So I think I have felt for a long time that some of that spraying has to do with a type of protection. But if you don't let people know that spirits exist, how are you going to get them to agree to spray something that will protect them from spirits? So somebody needs to beat the bushes on that a little bit, because today in the map, this is the map from today. That's stuff falling from the sky. It's not bad. Multiple protection from the Great White Brotherhood, the spiraling for grounding. At the bottom, what I put was there's strategizing going over ET revelations. So there's going to be ET revelations quick. And the question, who's in charge? Well, Trump is in charge. Well, why would that question come up here? So the mind control program that I was in, which at that time I didn't know, and I really didn't know that name until somebody wrote a book and they had that information in the book, and they had another piece of information in that book that I knew was 1000% accurate because it was about a meeting, and I was at that meeting at that date. And the conclusion of that meeting I was aware of. So whatever else was in that book, I kind of respected. And what they said was that the mind control program that I had participated in, we were called space babies. I was trained in interspecies communication. I've already told you that I did some negotiating. I'm not here with my hand up. Hey, call on me. This is when you're going to need me. I'm giving you what the map says, and then I'm telling you other stuff. Who is in charge? People don't even believe they exist. And then I don't know who's in charge. But if you, it is very important that you understand the law of intention. One of the 20 versions of that darn book that I wrote called From Victim to Master, that I'm now putting out pieces because it's just too much. It's where I unraveled string theory, whatever. In there, in one of the chapters, I put having to do with intention, that if you were a military person and you were really great and kept a country safe, that you probably were not the best person for running the country after the country is safe, because your intentions are set. And that is security, 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 protection, 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 paranoia, paranoia, paranoia. Take it from me. It ends up being built in when you live the kind of life, because I lived kind of like a military life. I lived a military life. So when it comes to the ETs, who's going to negotiate? Who's going to greet them, negotiate with them, talk to them? I don't know, but it did come in up here. This is the only reason I'm bringing it up, is because it came up here. There's strategizing going about ET revelations and who is in charge. And underneath it, it says something funny, which is most Democrats wish they were dead. We have too many people that are too unhappy, Trump. It's not your fault. You took the reins of power in Revelations. And a lot of people have been bad boys and girls. The story I told about the Girl Scouts, that was in 1970, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So this USAID thing is not going on from now. This is forever. And I remember that I was like puzzled. And I said, that's a really good, stupid, puzzled and stupid. I said, that's a really good proposal. $2 million for, and I had 4 young girls come to my house, maximum of 4 times. Most of them only came twice. And you got $2 million? And I kept asking about that proposal. Where could I learn to write a proposal like that? I mean, who writes those? So you might want to go after the people that write those proposals. I'm still shocked. So going back to here, who's in charge having to do with the ETs? And I think Uri Geller said Trump had invited him to come to the United States like last week or the week before. Okay, Uri Geller is Israeli military. He knows I actually respect him a lot. Honestly, I have nothing negative to say about him. I will remind you though that if you put somebody military in charge of receiving the ETs who are kind enough to give us all this protection, that maybe that's not such a great idea because of built-in intentions. It would be like putting me in charge of something where people have to be like super relaxed and trust everybody and love everybody. With my history, I can love everybody, but I'm not going to trust everybody. I'm going to step back. I'm still going to circle the edges of a room. I'm still going to choose a chair that's on the edge of a room with my back to a wall because of my history. Well, that doesn't make for all this fun and games. So if you put somebody military in charge of decision making of the thing with the ETs, we're starting off on the wrong foot. And I can guarantee you that's not what they want from us. On the contrary, they're horrified at how militarized we have become and have been, how much we kill each other so easily. So, Trump, I think you need to look at intention. What is intention? And I'm telling you, I'm great at protecting people, but not so great at like when there's not a war. That's not really true because I love the whole thing with health, but don't put somebody military in charge of the whole ET thing. Okay? And definitely don't put you know what I was going to say next I cannot say because I actually don't know what the astrological signs are for the people that are running kind of the military now. I should look it up because that would I'm going to shut my mouth. Trump, you are very creative and you're very you want to meet all sorts of different people. You're a Gemini. This is good. Somebody like you would be really good. No military. What are these green things? Let me make sure that the next words out of my mouth are accurate. The whole thing with the vaccines, and if whenever I feel safe enough, I will read the vaccines. I don't feel safe enough yet. One of the things about the vaccines is I have this feeling that there is stuff in there that has to do with kind of, I don't like the vaccines. I never got vaccinated. There's stuff in there kind of like connecting us to off planet to ET. Well, that's not good. Nobody asked for that. On the other hand, it's a little bit creative because we are mixing with them. And I think that this green stuff that's coming down, they look like teardrops. They're green, great color, heart chakra, whatever. I think it has to do with creating an energy or adding something that creates more stability having to do with galactic. And I'll look into that a little bit more another day. But definitely the galactic stuff is totally up. And definitely when you've won a war as incredibly obvious as Trump has won, tons of years, tons of all sorts of things, the people that are left on the ground that are not dead yet, we're supposed to have maybe a little bit of compassion. Most Democrats wish they were dead. What are we going to do about that? Not make so much fun of them. Because honestly, talk about being asleep. I'm a mind control victim. I'm horrified at the stuff that I didn't remember, that I participated in. And I've done a ton of therapy in order to be able to smooth out the wrinkles of my horror at my life. These people, and they're being exposed and feeling humiliated. You cannot have a country full of people that are ashamed, people that want to die. So, dealing with emotional reactions. I did a session on diabetes, and as usual, I went into the pancreas, which is what gets sick that you can have diabetes. And what I found was we have a programming which is like a curse. All humanity has a programming, had a programming that's like a curse inside the pancreas. And that programming was to distort love. The pancreas, in Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, they know that each organ has a relationship to certain emotions. And I don't remember what they say the pancreas is, but in my studies, I have found that the pancreas has to do with happiness. And that when you get diabetes, which is when your pancreas doesn't work well, you're not a happy camper. You're just not a happy camper. Too many people with diabetes and too many children with diabetes. When you decide subconsciously that you are never going to be happy, in other words, you have a life situation that is just, you're not going to be able to turn that around, pancreatitis sets in. And you can leave like in 3 months with pancreatitis. I mean, if you're never going to be happy anyway. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. What I found next was that programming, it's like we're computers. That programming had an extension to our heels, HEELS. The programming was to distort love so that anything that you do will have a distortion having to do with love. Oh, okay, well, I just love my kids and my husband and my no, you should love your work. You should love your home. You should love your mother or your sister. You should kind of love the people that work with you on projects. Everything having to do with love, that programming would distort it so it wouldn't be able to be just love. And of course, love is the most important thing for people. So basically, that programming, what it did was set in place a program to where people were never going to be truly happy. And it was set in place when we arrived on the planet Garden of Eden, talking about forever. And then they connected it to the heels. Why? To your heels kind of determine where your feet are going to go. Your toes don't determine where your feet are going to go. You can say it's the whole foot, but if you think about it, your heels, which are the closest thing to your legs, that's what it is that starts to move forward. And it has the programming of distorting love wherever it is that you go. And I went, wow, so there's a deep connection between heels and diabetes and pancreatitis. And I said, and if that's the case, I should be able to find it. So I immediately went and looked in Google. And yes, you can have neuropathy in the heels. So I felt that that was a validation of this program I found. This is not the only programming I found. I found many programs in us. The trick of the matter is that I removed it. Today, somebody sent a comment and said, and they're from Latin America. They said, we are told, where his country is or his town or whatever, that when you have a sugar spike, you're supposed to pound your heels and it lowers your sugar. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so why am I telling you this story? Because I find it fascinating. This is the kind of stuff I love. In terms of medicine, in terms of cost of medicine, in terms of cost of health, in terms of being happy, when we find stuff like this, to make it as a baseline part, in other words, the causal of disease, and make it baseline to where people would know. All of my followers know now about this, the same way they know that when their kids are going crazy and are changing and are turning into little animals, whatever, they don't really complain anymore because they already know the kid cannot sleep with a cell phone, they can't have their computer next to their bed, they can't have the router next to their bed, and they have to have the mantrista music on 24/7 in the kid's bedroom. And the mother has to use the glacier technique, which is visualize her kid inside an igloo of ice, visualize a block of ice inside their head, a block of ice inside their liver. These techniques that are very simple and totally cost free. So we started out as a group of helicopter moms, the Mantrista movement, and we've turned into a group of people that include men, not a lot of them, but include men, and we're there helping countries, helping people, helping our families. But a lot of the problems that we used to have that used to take us down don't take us down because we have the techniques. So, in terms of diabetes, it's simple, the mantra, even though I'm not happy, I love and accept myself. And if you're really miserable, you need to do, even though I will never be happy, I love and accept myself. It is not an affirmation, it is a statement that you're saying to your mind with breath, and your mind strings are finding that inside of you, which will be near your pancreas, drawing it up, and with your breath, you're releasing it. It's like the Catholic confession. You go to confession and you tell the priest what it is that you've done wrong. And simply verbalizing it is a tremendous healing. So, that and many, many other health issues have remedies that are even more efficient than just alternative medicine and eating correctly. You should do all of those things. I'm doing all of those things. But if you find out what the actual issue is that made you sick, you do a mantra. And there's so many of my followers that have cured diseases easily just with one mantra. Gone. By the way, the autism thing is a problem. We have a man who is a very good man, RFK. I am sure he's getting blackmailed. Somebody said that the other day and they were very finger pointing about it. I'm sure what he's doing is too important. I took care of a lot of autistic kids. I dropped it because I didn't want to take care of. I didn't want to have a practice taking care of 50 or 100 kids. It's not my thing. I wanted to set up a protocol for millions of people to be able to take care of their kids or their diseases, which is what I'm doing. Okay. Autism is scary. And I'll tell you the story. I was taking care of a kid. It was the second visit. The parents were sitting there. The kid is sitting on this massage table I had there, and I'm standing in front of him. I'm getting ready to do a healing. And all of a sudden, an ET shows up. Yes, I see ETs. It was a spirit, but it was an ET spirit. It wasn't just like the spirit of somebody who used to have a physical body and died. And he said to me, not this one. This one's ours. You're not getting this one. And I was like, what? Their parents are staring at me because they were not privy to the actual communication, or they couldn't see this. And I went, what? And they said, you're not getting this one. This one's ours. So I just breathed and I turned to the parents and I said, listen, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened here. And I'm going to tell you why I'm deciding what I'm deciding. I said, a spirit showed up, but he's a spirit not from this planet. And he just told me that I am not going to get this kid. In other words, help the kid heal. That your kid, belongs to them, him. I said, I don't know what to do about this. I am powerless. I have no idea. So I cannot take care of your kid. And they were like, but we don't understand. I said, I don't understand either. Well, I understand today because you see, children that are autistic are not in charge of themselves. And they have multiple spirit bodies. They have multiple astral spirit bodies. If you see anything that I've written about autism, you'll see there's always a graphic there, and there's an autistic kid, and there's several of the spirits of him around. One that gets full of rage, another one falls into depression. They all belong to him. And there's spirits all over, the bad spirits all over the place. And the parents of children with autism are affected. In other words, autism. I'm asking, do I go here? Why should I get myself into trouble? Again, I'm not going to go there, but I'm going to say that RFK took on something that somebody needed to take on, but he is going to have to battle for his sanity because 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 he's not going to just be battling the medical doctors that refuse to acknowledge that they don't know what the heck they're doing, and the parents who want to think whatever it is that they think, and then those that are really in control of the autistic kids. So I think that everybody should pray and ask for special protection for RFK, just having to do with the autism issue. Now, I don't have it here, but I'll try to have it next week. As I have always said, you can line up 100 people and 3 are autistic. You don't have to tell me anything. I look at the 100, go, this one, and this one, because there's a configuration of their mind streams that is autism. So it's for somebody like me that can see the mind streams, it's easy to see and say that one, and that one, and the other 97 are not autistic. They can have problems. And through the years, I don't have to check it. I see it. It's like you're looking and you see that I have green stripes. It's the same thing for me. I'm looking, I can see this mind streams are going like this. Autism is a huge issue. And it is an issue that has things, it is totally an issue having to do with spirits. Totally an issue that has to do with spirits. You don't believe in spirits, you're not going to be able to take care of autism. They used to think that it had to do in England. They, for some years, they were saying that it was a digestive issue, and when you took care of the digestive issue, that you took care of the autism. Well, that was, if you can take care of the digestive issues, you've done a really good job, because autism has a lot to do with fear, and fear causes digestive issues in the solar plexus. So they were saying it was a solar plexus digestion issue. They put out, in case somebody who can actually do something is listening, I'm going to say this. Years ago in the 90s, when I was totally functional in the 90s, I didn't have the control that's still hanging around today, that was jailed and apparently got pulled out of jail in order to see if he can get me under control. Now, we're talking now. We're not talking 20 years ago. So in the 90s, when he had not gotten a hold of me, the autism community found something called secretin, which is a hormone. And many children that when they injected them with secretin stopped being autistic. Well, I was like, whoa. And I had just taken care of 50 or 60 kids, done my own studies and wrapped it up and, whatever, because. So I said to a medical doctor friend of mine, I want to get injected with secretin. He said it's really expensive. I said, I know, it's like $300 one injection. Probably costs 25 cents. So he injected me with the secretin. No physical side effects. But that night, I could see better. I remember I was holding a newspaper. That's how long ago it was. In front of me, I was in bed. I was holding a newspaper, and the cat jumped on top of the new. It was interesting, and I realized that I was able to see. So I contacted a friend of mine who's an Ayurvedic physician. I said, "Listen, I just got injected with this thing, and oh, I forgot the important part. When the doctor injected the secretin, my solar plexus, which is handles your digestive organs, started to move in the opposite direction. First place, I didn't know it moved in any direction, but it started to move in the opposite direction. It started to go from right to left, which is the way it's supposed to. And then my vision improved dramatically. So I called my Ayurvedic medical doctor friend and I said, I don't get this. What is this? He said, well, obviously it has something to do with the liver, because the liver has to do with a lot with your eyesight. So if your eyesight improved, then that secretin helps your liver. It turns out the secretin works on shock. And I was in a state of shock, which I have been my entire life because my life is shocking. And the secretin reverses what shock does. What shock does to you is you go, and your solar plexus, which is called the garbage can of emotion, gets tight, and apparently it spins in the direction it's not supposed to. Secretin will correct that. Now, I'm sure that it's probably that injection, that hormone is probably not 15 cents, it's probably 25 cents. But that is something that I think they should give the autistic children continuously. And it totally supports what I found with the autistic kids, because the mind strings in the autistic kids that are doubled over are the ones in the solar plexus. Again, you line up 100 people, 3 autistic, I can tell you which 3 are autistic. I'm not bragging. It's so easy to see. Let me show you the mind streams for a second and then we'll go on to something else. The mind streams are the green strings, which is from string theory, that extend from the center axis. And at the level of the yellow chakra, that is where they cross over. It is the only condition I have found in humans until now where the strings cross over. Those mind strings have to do with your moods. You grab things, you get depressed and they droop. You want to die and they go up like this. You have compulsive thoughts and they're spinning around. In other words, your descriptions of your moods are descriptions of those. Autism, always holding the solar plexus. Secretin. Now, does it last? I don't know. There needs to be studies. But then they started saying all this stuff about secretin and controlling it, and you could only get it out of the country. What the heck is that? It's a little hormone. It's nothing. I'm not sure there are any side effects. So we should look into that because it will make a huge difference. Because autistic children they live in incredible fear, to where they don't go like this, but they go like this, to the part of them that's called the garbage can of emotions. Okay, I want to get back to what I did with you guys 2 days ago, which is I gave you a healing and we put the music that's for parasite. So here we go with the whole spirit thing again. Parasites are spirits. And as I said, I think I said it 2 days ago, or maybe I didn't. one of my followers sent me an email. I don't think I did because I think it was after I was not on with you yesterday. One of my followers sent me an email. She's from another country, and her friend works in a hospital. And she says her friend said that because the parasites that are coming in now, the ones that I am seeing, are going every place, but they're invading the heart chakra, which I had not seen them there before. And a week ago was when I was seeing them in the heart chakra. Parasites are spirits. So this woman said that her friend, who's a nurse that works in a hospital in another country, says there's a lot of young people coming in with heart conditions and they're dying, and they're not allowed to talk about it. The doctors and the nurses are not allowed to talk about the number of young people that are dying from heart conditions. Now, it could be the vaccination. She was responding to something that I said in one of my classes, which is I think there's going to be an augmentation in heart issues, and I think they're going to try and use that as an excuse to get us to inject something, whatever else. And that's when I recommended the mantrista music, which is for parasites, which is for that particular type of spirit, which I think you should have on 10 hours a day. It's the piece on YouTube is 10 hours long so that people can sleep with it. I have it on 24/7. And it includes the Schumann resonance frequency because what I'm seeing is more problematic is the heart at the level of cause, which would be the heart chakra. So I want to know, how did you guys do the other day with the healing I gave you? Um, and let's go ahead because I know this is Friday, and then I was not going to be here, but because it's long weekend, not a long weekend, but an important weekend, um, because of Easter. So, how did you feel after the other day? Even if you did it after and not live, you would have been able to feel the effect of my healing, even if you weren't present when it was live. And I really appreciate some feedback because it's not easy just sitting here and not getting people, not there not being a turnaround. And I do understand that YouTube does not allow me to have followers and does not allow me to have comments. And my followers complain that they send me a chat message or underneath and it gets immediately taken down. So let's go ahead anyway. I think this is going to be a very interesting week, to say the least. Um, let's do the fear one having to do with the autism. No, let's do the heart thing. I was thinking about that $2 million contract that I was. My name was no place there. The person told me, "Oh, they're going to Julie. I think it's Julie Nixon. Is that possible? Not Eisenhower, Nixon. She's going to be presenting the check to the Girl Scouts, but you can't come." I was. I wasn't trying to come. I was a little bit confused, but still doesn't feel good. I'm very disappointed in that person. It was a setup, but not a setup of me. A setup of the government taking money. Who knows where that money went? It did not go into a program that was in that contract because there was no program because the only person that did anything was me in my kitchen. Not good. Okay. Here is the mantra. Because the only way you can have a heart condition, high blood pressure, or problems with your lungs is if your heart is broken. Okay? There are no exceptions. How do you like that? Or skin issues, because the skin is the sense organ associated with the heart chakra. So let's go ahead and let's do 5 minutes of this so you guys can get back to getting your stuff for your meals and all the rest of that. Um, I'm going to go ahead and give you a healing in your heart chakra. So if you want to take your breath there, that would be good, but you don't have to. And even if you're listening to this later, not live, the healing will get to you because I've been doing this for several years and we've asked and everybody has come back and said it's the same effect. It's like unbelievable, but that's the white magic that I want to teach. How do you feel? I saw something interesting that I've never seen in the heart chakra, and that is through when I first started to do my healing therapy, when I could see inside my body, I could see like a bottle with a cap, like a it wasn't a beer bottle, could have been Coke, could have been Mountain Dew, whatever. And the cap would come off and the liquid inside would spill out, and it basically I realized it was symbolic of something that I had bottled up inside of me. It was a memory. Um, I saw this now in the heart chakra in you. These bottles and the caps are coming off. So I think that we're going to have memories of things that are congesting our heart. Now, I gave you a healing. It could have been from my healing. It could have been from the mantra. It could have been from the music therapy. It could have been a combination. But whatever it is, it's good. Something that a memory, which is what kills humans, is what they remember from the past, and they're hanging on to it, bottled up inside organs, inside the body. And then when you're planning your future, that automatically is part of your plan. This happened before, it's going to happen again. So we have to not do it or defend from it. So I think there's going to be, however it is that it happened, maybe just for this group, I don't know. But stuff that's been bottled up is getting released. Also, when I was trying to get my makeup on right for this chat, I noticed my eyebrows, I need to clip them. Now, I have to continuously be cutting the hair on my eyebrows, not in any other part of my body, my eyebrows. But long hair in your eyebrows has to do with uh, clairvoyance, being able to see a lot. Einstein, with those bushy eyebrows, and all those crazy scientists with the bushy eyebrows, my eyebrows would look like that. If I didn't trim them and cut them, it's crazy. So just for you to know, so that if you have a kid with the eyebrows or the eyelashes really full and long and very psychic. Okay, just a little piece of information, little metaphysical information. I hope you have a great Easter. And I find it interesting that in metaphysics, when you die, um, it takes 3 days for your spirit to actually be released from the physical body, completely released. And then Christ died, and 3 days later, there was a resurrection. So, interesting. Okay. And ET stuff, look up sulfur, but you can't look it up because we're not allowed to believe in spirits. But garlic is full of sulfur, and sulfur is miraculous. Just like coconut was brought to planet Earth by Lord Vishnu to protect from the spirits who used to at one point have a physical body. Mango is here to protect from spirits associated with the devil. Little pieces of information you can apply. Okay? Bye.